These are the solutions for number 16 and 17 on the Chapter 2 test study guide plus the performance task. So on number 16, they're asking us to determine whether the ordered pair is a solution of this equation. So remember, solutions are when we have a substitution of the x and y values into the equation and it works. It makes an equality. So let's see if it does. So we put -1 in place of the y. Bring down the equal sign, and then -3 multiplied by the x value. The x value is 5, and then plus 2. So we go ahead and do some work, and when I go ahead and multiply, I end up getting a -15. And -15 plus 2 will not equal -1. So -1 does not equal -13. So we would say no. The point, and then you just name off what that point is. It's going to be 5, -1. Is not a solution of the equation. And then just tell me what that equation is as well. And so that equation is y equals -3x plus 2. So the next problem asks us to write an equation that represents the data. So again, always check either for a common difference, y minus x, or you're checking for a common ratio. So let's check the difference first. So again, the important thing to do is make sure that you do the y first, then the x second. So I see that y minus x is -3. And the reason why you want to do that is because that's the number that you're going to end up adding to x if this is a common difference. Or, yeah, if this is a common difference. So we do the next one, 2 minus -1. That gives me -3 because I have to add the opposite there. And then 0, take away -3 also. You add the opposite, you get, so let's see, I did that wrong. See, I got a wrong answer. I got +3, not -3. And I was thinking that it might end up being a common difference, so I had to go back and look. And I ended up making an error by putting the x value first, not second. So -3 take away 0 does make a -3. And it looks like I made that same error over here as well. And so when I'm looking at this, let's go ahead and fix that. And so again, I've got to start with my x value, or I've got to start with the y value. -1, take away 2. So add the opposite, and I end up getting, there we go, I got the -3. And so again, I've got to be careful now, make sure I do the y value first, then the x value. Add the opposite, I do get -3. And I'll check the last one, -6, take away -3. And yes, that does make -3. So definitely getting a common difference of -3. So right away that tells me that's what I need to add to x. If I do x plus -3, that'll give me my answer. And that's what we get. See, if we have 8 in for the x, 8 plus -3, that gives me 5. And that matches what I have here. And I could try just one more here. I'll do this one over here. So if I put in a -1 in for x, plus -3, yeah, that gives me -4, and that matches what I have right here. So I would, instead of writing plus negative, you could just write y equals x minus 3. Either way would mean the same thing. So the last questions are performance task, and it talks about how Ed deposits $120 into an account that does not pay interest. He plans to deposit $30 each month. So when you see the words each, that tells us our variable term. So there's our variable number, and this would be our constant. So he deposits $120 would be our constant. This is like our starting amount. And then the $30 each month is our variable amount. So I'll just draw a little arrow there and point to that 30, and that is going to end up being our variable amount. Now the variable amount's neat because it tells you the units that we're looking for, because we're asked to write a function in 2 variables. So 2 variables would be like y and x. And so the next part is going to be ask us to, again, we're writing the function 2 variables describing the situation, but we have to make sure we define the variables. So you've got to do that part where it says define the variables. We've got to do it. So y is going to equal the amount of money. Amount of money in the account. Now, oftentimes people ask, how do I figure that out? How do I know that is the amount of money? Well, the variable term tells us what the 2 units are. So the 2 units are right here, dollars and months. And so the top number, remember how we talked about slope is the y over x, the change of y over change of x. Well, the top number, the y value, is going to end up being the first number. And so that's the first set of units. It's $30 per month is what we're depositing. So the top number tells us our y value. So the amount of money in the account. And the x value, well, that is going to be the bottom number here, which is months. So it's the number of months. So now we've defined the variable, so we've checked that part off. Let's do the next part, which is writing the function. So writing the function would be y equals our variable amount, $30 times x, and then we start with our initial amount. So we've got our variable amount, we got our initial amount that we have, and equals the total. So now we've got the two parts there. Now they have the last part, which says we're supposed to find out how the total Ed will have in his account after a year. So what we need to do is first change a year, 1 year, to months. So we have to know that there are 12 months in a year. And so now we're ready. So we're going to take the number of months and put it in for x. And then that'll give us what y is. So y equals 30 times by 12 and then plus 120. See, again, defining the variables helps you remember where to put things. X represents the number of months. That's why I'm putting 12 in place of x. So I multiply 3 times 12, and that makes 36, but I have to add that 0, so 360 plus 120. And so I'll go ahead and add those two numbers together, and that gives me a grand total of $480. So $480 is what Ed has in a year. And so there we have it. So that's not the only answer here. That's just one of the parts. Remember, there are 3 parts: to write the equation, to define the variables, and then you also have to find out how much he has after a year. Well, those are the parts of the test. Keep on practicing, and good luck.